Good afternoon, upper sixth. So you've just finished your first full 2-hour timed paper 3 mock exam. Thank you very much to you for the paper. I'm going to go through one of the questions. I'm not going to put the case studies up for obvious reasons because we've brought the resources in, but I thought it was very important to go through social enterprise. Okay, so yeah, we'll talk about this. It was in context with obviously Birdsong, which is a social enterprise, and we'll talk about the company in context in a sec. So the question itself, 2 benefits. Well, first of all, some of you just answered the question. Congratulations, welcome to 4 out of 8. We know that we need balance in our questions. So we recommend that you would write 2 however paragraphs. PEEH, 1 benefit, however there might be a downside, and PEH, another benefit, however there might be a downside. Okay, so you've got to have balance. If you miss one of those howevers off, maybe a generous examiner is going to give you 7 out of 8. If you miss both of them, you're going to get capped at 50%. These 8 markers are very easy. You've got 10 minutes to plan, write, get the stuff out of the case study. This is a time trap. Do not write too much, but you've got to write balanced answers. You know that. Some of you forgot that when you were writing your mock, and you've lost 50% of your marks for maybe you were just nervous. We won't accuse you of not listening. So operating as a social media, social enterprise even, and obviously we need to define this, and this is where the problem comes. So first of all, here is a list of all the past paper questions to do with forms of business that have been asked so far. So there's lots of opportunities for you to practice forms of business. We understand that it's going to be in the research paper because we've done a video on it. And we can see we've got private limited, we've got PLC, because they've gone from limited to PLC using an IPO, stock market flotation. We've got other things that are in there as well. We've got franchising, private limited to public limited to private limited. So normal type of stuff there. They've never tested social enterprise, which is why you should all email tutor to you and say thank you, Jim and team, because this might come up. If it does, then great, we've practiced it, and most other people will come up with the waffly definitions that are on the internet. So, 2 benefits, PEH, PEEH, so we've got the balance. First of all, let's look at the hard way of defining social enterprise. We keep asking you to define in context. Okay, try not to define as per you have memorized the textbook. That's a starter, I suppose, but if you define in context, it's so much more powerful, and the examiners will probably thank you for it as well, because they've just marked probably about 50 questions that are textbook and quite boring. But more importantly, with this one, the social objectives of this company are directly linked to the benefits of the company. So if you actually define it properly, you'll be in a lot better place, let's say. You might write quicker. So here's an example of something that I've lifted from Edexcel. This is from the BTEC standards, actually. And the stuff for the A level is even worse. So social media, organisation, overriding the objectives. Overriding, which means they might have other objectives, yeah? Don't know what they are at the moment because at Edexcel I haven't explained them, such as social problems, people's lives, protect the environment. Social enterprise, reinvest their profits, all of them? Because up here you said overriding, down here that reads as all of them to me. Maybe I'm just reading between the lines and it's not there. In this unit, well, obviously that's the BTEC, learners will develop an understanding of the ethos of social enterprise, explore what makes social enterprises a success or failure, and engage in planning and running a short social enterprise activity on their course. Obviously, you're doing the A level, and that's not you. The BTEC sounds very interesting, which is great for that. I still don't know what a social enterprise is. It sounds a bit like a charity to me. So here's Save My Exams. And I'm not on commission, obviously. So of a Dalmatian. So the social enterprise is a business with primary purpose to create social or environmental impact. Okay. In addition to generating profits. Hang on, this isn't a charity, is it? So their primary purpose is to help, but they might make profits. What sort of business could that be, I wonder? Profits are usually, not always, reinvested back into the business or used to create positive social impact, yada yada. Hang on, this is describing a profit-making organisation with a social purpose. We're getting closer to the definition of social enterprise. Let's have a look at a very well-known revision site to do with A-levels. One kind of business, rapidly growing, blah, 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 social enterprise, most common form of not-for-profit. This is where some students get tripped up. Not-for-profit means they don't make a profit. Yes, they do. Charities make profits. Or Cancer Research UK couldn't open hospitals because they need the profits to pay for hospitals. Not-for-profits are not... It doesn't mean that they're not making profits. Okay? Without profits, they can't do what they want. Without profits, they can't grow the charity. Lots of early charities, I know social enterprise is not a charity, as it says here, lots of early charities give very little money to their beneficiaries. And, you know, especially if their cousins run a marketing company that are charging them a small fortune for raising awareness of the charity. So actually, lots of those charities that are asking you for money, you should check how much of the money actually gets through to the beneficiaries. Under UK law, the Charity Commission will make sure that money does get through to the beneficiaries. However, they acknowledge in the early, imagine product life cycle, I'm in the introduction, I'm in the growth stage, how do I grow a business? Well, I chuck loads of money at marketing and product development. I'm engaging with customers, I'm persuading them to not give money to that charity and give it to me. It's the typical product life cycle question. Doesn't mean they're not making profits. Now, let's go to this one. Businesses primarily social objectives, good, they put it in bold for you for a reason, it's very important, whose surpluses are principally, not always, reinvested for that purpose, okay, rather than maximising profits. Now, this is the bit where I sort of disagree. I would like to think that if you start up a social enterprise, you are doing it for the right reasons, but you could also be running a lifestyle business, so I'm earning enough money to survive. That makes sense, or the business can't survive. It might be that I'm running something that is not a charity but has charitable aims, and let's say I give 60% of my profits to my beneficiaries. That means I can keep 40. If I'm making £1 billion a year profit, I don't mind 40% of £1 billion. Most of these social enterprises, however, are very, very small, limited companies that are classed as a special limited company, which is social enterprise. These are a sort of limited company. We can then go into, not on autopilot obviously, if needed, limited liability versus unlimited liability. Okay, now that definition was probably taken from this site. This was a 2011 paper from obviously the government, and we can see very close to the one from the revision site. Okay, so it's a pretty good one. It's either that or the government stole it from the revision company. So how's about this? See if this makes sense. Birdsong is a social enterprise, a type of limited company where its shareholders prioritise sustainable clothing for women who dress in protest against fast fashion over their personal profits. Let me just scrub that. I'll put those quotation marks in the wrong place. So I've quoted the case study, definitely using some context, nice application marks, and more importantly, I have to find those social objectives which are part of social enterprise. Okay? Now, this is the question. There's a picture of Birdsong's website. Looking at this, there's our definition, and remember we've got 10 minutes to write this, get the evidence from the case study, off you go. So we're going to start by quickly planning, very quickly, we know, and we know what we're looking for. We're looking for 2 bits of evidence to do with their social objectives. One benefit of Birdsong, we've started off by answering the question, which is always quite nice. Good reputation is with ethical consumers who agree with their social objectives, such as making sweatshirts out of organic cotton. This brand loyalty is important, let's get our BLT going, as these customers, consumers even, may be prepared to pay higher prices for ethically sourced clothes. Meaning, nice chain of argument, they could charge more than fast fashion firms like Primark, bringing a bit of my own application, I'm doing a research theme, as customers might be more interested in ethics than price. So this is talking about sourcing organic, linked into ethics and price. So our counter argument must also be linked to that. We can't just throw in a however some people believe the world is flat. So we need something that is directly linked to that point. However, sourcing organic cotton can be more expensive than cotton Primark might use. I've put might in there, not definitely. I don't want to be accused of those assertions. So might use, and therefore in the UK, where we have a cost of living crisis, that's where they're based. Some customers might choose to buy cheaper clothes elsewhere. I've brought in cost of living crisis. We've talked about it in class. It's part of the research theme in some ways. This could be the reason why I'm not willing to pay more money. Very important. Another benefit. I've started with one benefit. I've left a gap. I've put a however. Hang on, Miss Examiner, here's my counter argument. And now they're even more excited because they know exactly where the next argument is. I've left a space. I've laid it out. Now, it's not for the examiners, it's for you to make sure you remember to actually put your howevers in, because some of you only got half marks. Social objective is they refuse to work with factories who don't pay or treat workers fairly. BLT. This is because they source clothes from charities that pay the London living wage. This could result in Birdsong developing a good working relationship with suppliers. Well, they're sourcing it locally, who will be reliable and produce, clothes of a consistently high standard, quality even. The reputation might differentiate them from mass market brands like whoever to increase sales. Now, if I would have ended my chain of argument there, I could have had one of those so what questions. The question's talking about benefits, constantly high quality. Well, how is that a benefit to Birdsong? If I'm in doubt at the end of my chain of argument, this is why we normally circle the hooks in our question. The hook here is benefit to Birdsong. Well, I need to come back to a benefit. Well, differentiating against mass market brands is a benefit. Very, very important. The end of our chain of argument comes back to that hook. So we need a counter argument for this point. However, Birdsong operates in a niche market. Look up there, we've mentioned mass, and now we've gone niche. Mass market customers, consumers even, may be more interested in the design of the clothes and the price rather than social objectives. Now, if I would have just written mass market consumers may be more interested, that could be classed as just knowledge and not contextualized. Because I've said they operate in a niche market, that is in context. You've got to make sure that your however points are contextualized. Just because you write however doesn't mean it's a counter argument. If it comes across as abstract, the examiners will probably not give you the marks. Okay? An easy one to get done in 10 minutes, and also an easy one for you to overcomplicate, throw all your knowledge at the page, because now you've revised social enterprise properly. If it comes up, you might go, do you know what? I'm going to wow this examiner. Well, you won't wow them if you spend 20 minutes on it, because your last 20 marker, probably the last 12 marker actually, is going to be blank. Now, one of the things we tell you is do the questions in the order of the paper. Now, this is really, really important, okay? I know there are some teachers that say do the big questions first. Ignore them. They're wrong. Look at the last couple of years' worth of paper 1, 2s and 3s. You will see that there is a theme, okay? Now, I'm not saying they'll do it again this year, but there seems to be a theme with the chief examiners. And what they're doing is they're linking the case studies to other questions. Now, you might be able to use some of the information from this social enterprise question in the next question. Okay? Now, if you're doing a calculate question in a paper 1, paper 2, it's obvious that you might be able to use that in the next question somewhere, but you also might be able to use, in this case, the form of business. Now, the next question in this mock paper is a form of business, a sources of finance question. Now, this is, and I'm not going to show you the case studies or actually the rest of the paper, because that would be unfair, but Birdsong, are they correct? Well, that's the hook. To source external finance from business angels, not angles, children. Make sure you spell things correctly. We don't have spag marks in business, but it would be nice if we were talking about business angels, not angles. So external source of finance versus internal, and also business angels, not angles, also possibly come with something else other than money. Okay, and that's the key bit here that most of you didn't get. Here's the reason why. Here's a definition from somewhere. A business angel, not angle, is someone who invests their own money in a small business in exchange for a stake in the business. Okay, that's correct. However, gives us a limited amount to talk about in the next question, especially in context with social enterprise. Or a business angel is someone who might invest their own money in Birdsong for a stake in the business. That's actually just shoved Birdsong in there. Not much at the moment. This might be for profit motive or because they want to support the objectives of the social enterprise. Okay, so we're now talking about motives of shareholders and investors. It could be that they just love the idea of Birdsong's business model because they want to fight fast fashion. There's something else. Still not the full story, I'm afraid. All I've done is just sort of reworded it and then thought about the motives. It's come across as a still very, very abstract in some ways. A little bit there about their social enterprise. We'd get away with that for a bit of context. Let's see if we can improve it. So then I went online and I thought, let me find some definitions. Why do I see things in essays? Well, that's because you revise from Google quite a lot of the time. This is Collins Dictionary, not copyrighted. So a business angel, not angle, is a person who gives financial support to a commercial venture and receives a share of any profits from it, but does not expect to be involved in its management. And I saw that in, I think, 4 answers. Okay, I'm thinking some of you have revised from Collins or somewhere else. And this is actually not wrong. It's in a very well-known dictionary, but it's not helpful. Okay? And they give us a useless example. How's about this one? This is from the European Union. Yes, I do miss membership. A business angel, not angle, is a private individual who, so often with a high net worth, so they've got some cash knocking about, says our dragons on the TV, and usually with business experience, maybe a bit like a dragon, who directly invests part of their assets in a new and growing private business. Business angels can invest directly or part of other dragons buddying up. Now you imagine when you watch Dragon's Den, if you haven't watched Dragon's Den, then shame on you business students, do they just turn around and say, I really like your business, here's £500,000, crack on? Or do they say, I'm going to mentor you, I'm going to introduce you to my clients, I'm going to help you access more environmentally friendly supply chain? Okay? They mentor. So actually, this is good. I can't remember where I've borrowed this from, so I apologise. This first paragraph is same sort of stuff that we've seen. This is where the gold dust is. Business angels are always looking for ways to make more profit, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. However, it is imperative to note, it's imperative very important to note that that the interest of angel investors typically goes beyond just financial return. They might be interested in mentoring a new generation of entrepreneurs. Okay, now this definition is so much more valuable with answering this question. Okay, so we're not just talking about money, and there was two of you that said they might pay high interest on the loans. You might want to do some revision on this source of finance. That's wrong, by the way. But if we define business angels as not just money, but also imagine those dragons that come along with their years of experience and their established networks in the fashion industry, maybe it's not just the money that's going to help Birdsong. So are they correct to use this source of finance? In my opinion, this failing, struggling business that has a wonderful idea to fight fast fashion in an economy where we've got a cost of living crisis is a lovely idea. However, maybe they don't have the experience that they need to actually monetize these ideas, and maybe they don't have the short-term finance to grow this business big enough, remember your product life cycle, to make it profitable and self-sustaining. So maybe they should take this source of finance. They're giving away part of their company that actually isn't really worth a lot at the moment. So would you rather give away a proportion of something? Because in the future, if I was giving away 20% of my company to get some angel financing, so I'm left with 80%, in the future, will my 80% be worth more than the 100% I currently have? And if the answer is yes, or you think so, take the angel finance. And then when you're writing your justification and your conclusion, you're not going to make the mistake of just repeating what you've already written, because you've already had the marks. Because you could turn around and say something like, first line of conclusion, overall, I think it's correct for them to accept finance from a business angel, full stop. My justification for that is if they didn't, and they had to go for a bank loan, at the moment, in the current climate, and according to the case study, there are increasing interest rates out there. And because their business is so fragile, the banks might think that they're a high risk and charge them even more interest. So take the business angel finance, please. Thank you very much, everyone. Hopefully that was useful. And I look forward to seeing your resubmissions of this question, because I think really about 20% of you got it right. Enjoy.